Welcome to episode 1 of the Girl Dad podcast. This is my first episode, my intro episode to what it is I'm going to be doing with this podcast, what my plans are, and I even touch on a little bit of my experience with fatherhood this early on in the game. Bonnie is currently, at the point of recording this, 15 days old. So fairly new parent, but there's lots of things that I want to get into. We're talking about masculinity, how to show up as a father, as a husband, motherhood, parenthood as a whole. And there's so many different topics under the branch of parenthoods and how we are as humans. It all stems from how we were raised, and to build a better future is all going to be branched off on how we parent, how we interact, how we show up as role models. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Let me know any feedback. Let me know if there's any guests you want me to get on. I have about 8 different guests lined up and planned already, but they don't have to have a massive social following. They don't even need to be on social media. If you believe someone's out there and they do a pretty damn good job being a parent, I want to hear about them and I want to sit down and have a conversation about them. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the first episode of the Girl Dad podcast, where strong fathers build stronger daughters. I'm unsure what the tagline is going to be. I put up in my story a couple of weeks ago that should it be the Girl Dad podcast, or should it be strong fathers build stronger daughters? And it was like 105 to 85 on the Girl Dad podcast. So we're going to start there. Anyway, names are almost irrelevant. What's going on? Like, why start a podcast? I would imagine for most of you guys tuning into this, you may have followed me or known of me for a little while, and you'll know that I love this creative outlet when it comes to podcasting. Now, for me, the Bulletproof Mindset podcast that I had, we ran 300 episodes, and then I pivoted the business into the marketing business, and it just didn't make sense to continue the fitness-themed podcast. And over the last couple of months, that's been about 8 or 9 months now, Jill fell pregnant, not by accident, but we were becoming parents. And over those last 8 to 9 months, I have been thinking about my self-development, who I am and what kind of father I want to become. And it didn't make sense to talk about any of this sort of stuff on our marketing podcast. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to create a creative outlet where, because I'm genuinely curious about this subject of fatherhood, masculinity, especially in the world of 2026. And I'm not just doing this to jump on the hype. I truly believe the masculine traits and what it takes to be a man is so distorted. On one side of the fence, you've got being rich, making money, let your wife stay at home, be the man of the house, smoke cigars and just buy fucking yachts. And then on the other side of things, it's like, well, no, you need to be very empathetic, you need to be compassionate, you need to show like it's okay to cry and all this sort of stuff. And that's not exactly an extreme, but you've got these two polar opposite ideas of what it takes to be a man. And I'd like to think that I've got a good handle in masculinity. It's certainly comfortable in who I am as a man, and I'd like to think the traits that I've got with my wife and as I become a father, I want to make sure that I'm not, I don't know, like it's strange when you become a parent because you realise how much has shaped you through your own childhood journey, and when you grow up, you just want to be like when you're growing up, you just want to be an adult, and then when you become an adult, you kind of miss being a child again. And there's so much that plays into your childhood that kind of shape you into the person that you are. And a lot of that comes down to the parents. A lot of that comes down to parenthood. And we are growing up in a generation where we're fortunate enough to have so much information at our fingertips that we can certainly challenge the status quo of what a dad or a mother or what parenting should be like. I'm sure we're all got some level of fucked up weirdness that have came from how we were raised, and it's at no fault of our parents. They just grew up in a different time, and we are certainly fortunate enough that we can actually shape and change the way that we want to parent. So genuinely curious and very interested in fatherhood, motherhood, parenthood. So that's what this is. This is my creative outlet of sharing my journey with it. I will share my tips, my downfalls, my fuck ups, my wins as a parent. Now, alongside this as well, I want to bring on other fantastic role models as dads, mums, and just people who have expertise in the space of psychology, of parenthood, of health, of fitness. Like, there's a lot of pillars that cover. One of the being a dad, I guess, if you look at the traditional status quo, there's a lot of pressure to be the provider and have a financial status or a certain level of financial freedom or comfortableness, if that's the right term. And that brings its own challenges itself. And I think a lot of guys, certainly a lot of dads, fall into that trap. And it ends up meaning that they're not there for their kids growing up. So it's a very, very interesting and weird thing to. I don't think you can get it right, but certainly I'm going to share. I'm not just. I was actually taking this back a step. I was having this conversation with someone a couple of weeks back, and they were like, they'd said to us, well, growing up, we were allowed McDonald's and we were allowed food and sweets and chocolates and all that, but we turned out all right. And it's like, yeah, I get that we did, and it's not that your kids will turn out bad, but if you've got an opportunity, because we've got so much data and support and evidence that you're better off by doing this option or this option, we want the best for our kids. So why not push the best for our kids, or certainly our children, and that's ultimately what I'm going to be doing, and yeah, and we're going to take it from there. So, life as a dad. Right now, I have Bonnie Hamilton Crosser has came into our lives. Little Bonnie is my 15-day-old daughter. And what a weird feeling. So I want to come at this from a perspective of some of you guys tuning into this, you might not be parents yet. So I'm going to try and hit this from all angles. That today's episode is just an introduction episode, just to say hi, and share a bit about my story becoming a father. And hopefully there's parts of it you can relate to. Maybe there's parts of advice, or maybe even there's some other people that you're like, here, look, that a lot of that resonated with you. You should check XYZ out. But me, like, I feel like up until you have... So, right, I spoke about this a lot when Jill was pregnant. I didn't feel that we were parents. I didn't feel that obviously her body's changing in that, but as a man, there was no necessarily a connection of, it's a weird analogy or a weird comparison, but it's like going on holiday, and it's like, oh, are you excited to go on holiday? For me, I get elements of being excited, but I'm like, it just doesn't feel real. And it's not until I'm in the location, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I find it very hard to like see ahead in the future. And I honestly, because you don't know what your child's going to look like, you don't know, we knew it was going to be a girl. So there was elements of finding out the gender, and knowing it was going to be a girl allowed me to start diving in and looking through the lens of being a girl dad a little bit different to like having a son. And that had this certain level of curiosity and a certain lens on how I would look at dads interacting with their daughters, and vice versa. Like, if some of my friends have got sons, and you just start opening up your world. But I wouldn't say I could necessarily get excited. I'm like, it doesn't feel like I don't know, it just doesn't feel real yet. And right up until, like, Jill was in labour, and right up until the point where we're holding our daughter, and I'm like, holy shit, this is our baby. And as I said, we're 15 days into this journey so far, and it feels like my world has always been this. So it's such a surreal experience. For those who don't know much about my background or who I am, like me and Jill, we've been together for 14 years, right? So we are a solid relationship, and we actually come from broken homes, not in the sense that it was a bad breakup, but both our families had split up. So the idea of a strong relationship, there was no role models there whatsoever. We were laughing the other day, like, that we were kind of going through our family, and it's like, shit, there's actually not many people in our mums and dads generation who have stuck together. And one of the first times I met Jill, I asked her to go out, and she said to me, look, I don't want to get married. My mum and dad haven't had a good relationship, and seeing their divorce, I'm not up for that sort of lovey-dovey shit, I'm sure our words were. And I thought to myself, I was like, all right, that's interesting, because although I've came from a very similar journey, I envision myself getting married. So anyway, fast forward 10 years, we get married, and then fast forward 3 years later, in fact, no, we get married 8 years. Yeah, 8 years into a relationship, and then we've been together ever since. And I'd like to think that me and Jill, not I like to think, I need to start giving ourselves a little bit more praise. We are a solid couple, and that's not been without its triumphs. Like, we've had our challenges, we've had our ups and downs, and our arguments and our fallouts and everything. But throughout this journey, like, there's a bit of luck that plays in it, but we have been the biggest supporters of each other. She is my rock, she's my ride or die, and I'd like, not that I like to think, I know I'm hers. I trust her wholeheartedly, and making the decision to propose and marry her, it wasn't like I don't know, I feel like in today's modern world of relationships, like you date somebody for a year and you're like, okay, I'm going to propose. We had 5-6 years from the age of 18 to 25. We moved away together. We lived in England together with no friends or family around us. We were working on our careers together. We'd come home to that house and we'd find out what it's like to live with someone else when you've got your own different traits. And we went through all of that. And when we started looking at what kind of life we wanted, you're very naive when you're in your late teens and early 20s, and even your later 20s, I think you try and piece it together a little bit more. But for me, when we had that conversation, we sat down and we had to talk about the goals and the things that we wanted to do. In my head, a switch happened, and I was like, this is a girl I want to be with for the rest of my life. And I remember we're sitting we had a date night in Thailand in 2018 maybe, no, was it 2018, 2017 maybe. And I remember coming away from that, like, we had a little date night. We went away with our sister and our sister's man, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and we had a night ourselves. And I thought, wow, like, that, I don't know, there was just something in that connection, even though we had been together for like 4, 5, maybe 6 years at this point. I was like, she's actually the one. So we get married, and we knew kids was always going to be on the table. I always imagined like mid-30s, so I'm 32, and we, every year towards the end of the year, we sit down and we write our goals for the year, and the topic of children came up, and it was like the longer you leave it, the harder it becomes for women, especially like in the 30s, and you start kind of reading all the data, and it becomes quite scary. So we had that conversation. It just became, right, well, we're in a good place. We run our own business, and we are really good together. We have a house. Like, there's nothing stopping us other than the drive of money. That, I think that's everybody's concern. That, oh, wait till we've bought the house. Wait till we've got X amount of money in the bank account. Wait till we've got this amount of savings. But in reality, like, as long as you've got kind of a couple of core principles, and like, you need to kind of trust yourself, and that's what we got to. It was like, right, let's do this. And it wasn't as if we just fell pregnant straight away. It's like, oh, it's not as easy to get pregnant. So then you start internalizing everything. You think, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with her? Is our biology, is our chemistry just not, is it not there? Are we going to have to use other options? And then lo and behold, April time, Jill got a test, and we were like, holy shit, like, this is real. That's the first probably hurdle, not hurdle, sorry, that's the wrong choice of words. That's the first, oh shit, like, not oh shit and I'm scared. It's like, fuck, like, this is real. Again, back to that imagination where you book a holiday and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of excited. So we've said, yeah, like, we'll have kids. I can't picture it yet. I don't know if we're going to have a girl or a boy. I don't know if it's going to be possible. I don't know if it's going to take 12 months, if it's going to be 4 months. And I showed me the test, and I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is it. Like, holy shit. And then the next part of that journey is probably for guys, is your wife or your girlfriend, their body's changing. And so I think the connection and the journey that women have is definitely different from us as men. But the next kind of big thing for me was the scan and seeing it on a digital image. Jill's body was changing ever so slightly, but to me it was just like, wow, like that hadn't, like, I wouldn't say I noticed, not that I didn't notice, but it wasn't like there's a baby in there until I could feel the baby kick, or until like Jill's body had changed and you could actually see, you're like, wow, like, how amazing, like, the women's bodies are incredible. I thought of that before birth, but certainly after birth, like, watching Jill's body and what it done and what it's doing now to like feed and give nutrition to our little girl is honestly amazing. But anyway, the next sort of big milestone was the scan, and you see this little tadpole thing, is the best way to describe it, on a screen. It's like, yep, like, you are pregnant. Here's the little heartbeat, and you're just looking at that screen, and I was like, wow, like, that's it. Like, parenthood is coming, and I'm like, okay, right, I need to get my shit together. I need to work hard and make sure that XYZ's blah blah blah. Like, the business is doing well, we're comfortable, we're doing well, and you can kind of get lost in it. I can understand why the whole mental health conversation comes up with guys and women, because there's a lot of external pressure from when you've announced your pregnancy and you are becoming a father, becoming a mother. It's interesting. But after that, the next big one is when you actually see the 12-week scan, where you see legs, you see feet, you see a head. You're like, that it's not a tadpole anymore. It's like, that's a freaking baby, and you're getting measurements and all that. And a lot of that does go over our heads, but they are just the milestones that I was like, whoa, this is happening. And I don't know why, like, right up until, and this is crazy to say, but right up until I was holding Bonnie, I never thought, it just felt like it was so far away, but it was so close at the same time. We done quite a lot in our kind of prior to Jill giving birth. We done hypnobirthing, and I really wanted to show up as a birth partner, and there's a lot of this that I want to talk about in separate episodes, because I truly believe we had an amazing birth, and there's a lot that we learned from that, and there's a lot that kind of brought us closer together, and incredibly proud, and massive amounts of respect to, like, just women as a whole, but how Jill handled the journey that she went on, and this will be for a later episode. But ultimately, we went 40. I keep saying we. I hate saying we. Jill went to 42 weeks and 4 days before we were holding our baby, and that can seem quite scary for. It probably comes more from the woman's side of things, and women knowing more about the birth story. But see, as a father, and see as men out there, boyfriends, husbands, we really need to step up our game. It's embarrassing how little we, one, know about the birth journey or the pregnancy journey that a woman goes through, and then two, the support. Like, you, like, understand the comedic value where it comes from. It's like, oh, it's like pregnancy's no sores getting kicked in the balls, but it's embarrassing that we take no initiative and no accountability to step up to the plate and support the women that we love most on this earth. No one, like, your birth partner, your ride or die, the mother of your child is going through the most incredible, wonderful experience of her life, and you turn around and you're like, fucking hell, her hormones are all over the place. It's pathetic, and it wasn't something that I was going to ever be doing when supporting Jill through her pregnancy. So that topic is one that I certainly want to share my journey on, because there's a part within there that a birth partner and a husband, there's like two roles that you play within that. As a husband, you share a lot of concern, and you get empathy, and there's a support mechanism. But as a birth partner, there's definitely some things that you need to show up for. So an example, like, we had to change the plan A that we were planning on having a home birth, and we had to change and go into hospital because there was meconium in the fluid when Jill's waters broke. So when that shifts, if I'm as Jill's husband, I'm like, okay, there's a thought that comes in my head. It's like, it's kind of a bit shit that we originally planned for plan A. And I know Jill's feeling the exact same thing, but as a birth partner, I'm there to go, here, Jill, there's a reason we had a plan B. So let's take the bags and let's go through the hospital. We are now in plan B mode. It's not going to change. However this experience is meant to last or meant to be, we will go through it together. And I wonder, for the majority of what men or fathers are told, it's like, it's almost like, oh, well, you're growing the baby. Like, women know what to do more. And it probably is the case, but it shouldn't be the case. And we genuinely should be stepping up. And I'm glad that we paid for our private hypnobirthing with Born This Way. Lindsay, she is fantastic. Definitely will be a guest that we have on the podcast. A lot of that kind of opened up my eyes, and then it kind of allowed me to listen to audiobooks and podcasts and experiences, and my whole algorithm changed as well. So yeah, so there's a lot within that. But anyway, like I kind of digressing a wee bit. I don't know why I dove into that a wee bit. I guess this is just to highlight the point of what this podcast is going to be. And like, see, when I say this, like the standards for what it takes to be a good birth partner and a good husband or a good father to be are fucking piss poor. They are low. They are pathetic. As I'm saying that, that's not a dig. And this is the whole point of this podcast, because there's not many voices that are in this space. Like, you're never going to get Andrew Tate talking about the support and the part a man should play when your wife's going through pregnancy. Well, you would just never get that. However, he's seen as a strong masculine male role model. Bullshit. You'll never see the fucking Louis Theroux documentary of Harrison HS Tiki Talkie. You'll never see them as men speaking aloud about the role that you should play. If you have a wife, a girlfriend, or a partner that's going through pregnancy, here's how you step up as a man and into that role to support your wife going through the most incredible experience of her life. No one's talking about that. No one is at all. And I'm not doing this to be like a knight in shining armour or anything like that. I'm doing it to call out the bullshit of fucking shit standards that we've got for men in 2026. All of this could slide back in the 1980s. They didn't have a phone. They didn't have internet. There was no shared experience. Getting information, getting knowledge was a lot harder to do. There is no reason we should still be stuck in our ways. So yeah, that's my journey as a man. Like, I'm not patting myself in the back here, but certainly how, like, when you hear comments like from other people and most importantly my wife, to say like, thank you for the support, and I'm really like touched and proud and grateful for the support that you've given me through this. And I was like, right, cool, I'm on the right path. Could I have done things a wee bit differently? Absolutely, but it's our first kid together, and you can, as I said, you can never get these things perfect, but I'm sharing my learnings and my experience. And it all leads up until your Dale and Gillian, your husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, like whatever it is, you are just you and they are just them, and you're very like, my life is my life, and ultimately I need to look after myself. And yes, I need to look after my wife. My wife needs to look after me, but let's be honest, like, there's still not that it would ever happen, but there's still a divide that can happen. Like, they can break off. Like, our responsibility, although we have a mortgage together, other than that, is going to be our dog Cooper. But we don't have the responsibility of a child. There's something that really changes you when you move into that world. So we are just Dale and Jill, and then right up until the 18th of March, we become mum and dad. That was wild. And what's even more wild is we've got a built-in intuition. So Jill has, so I ended up in a gentle C-section, and I'll maybe do an episode on our birth story, but I think I maybe want Jill to be there for that one. I'll share it through the lens of a father and things that was going through my mind, and what we pushed back on, what we listened to, and all this sort of stuff. But Bonnie was born at 6 minutes past 11, and we get wheeled back through. I was in the room for it. It was a beautiful experience, skin to skin, delayed cord clamping, and then it's like, okay, we'll put you through into a room, and then there's a couple of checks that need to do in Jill after the anaesthetic and all that sort of stuff, right? So you're sitting there, you got your baby, and she's just sitting on Jill, and she's breastfeeding straight away, which again, incredible intuition that babies are just born. It's like, right, cool, I need fed, I'm going to go straight on the boob. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, I know AI is an incredible technology, but the evolution or the human life design is incredible. But what's even more incredible is, like, we have no experience of parenting, changing nappies, putting on outfits, whatever. Midwives are coming in, they're all great in that, and they're very supportive. But it's like, we're sitting there and it's just me and it's just Jill and it's just Bonnie, and it's like, we have a daughter. Like we're mum and dad now. And Jill gets her dressing changed, I think it was. So it's like, right, you can put on one of your wee outfits onto Bonnie. And I was like, okay. So she was like, right, here's how we do the swaddle. And it's like, so you do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. Never seen that done before. But in my head, I was like, cool, I now know how to do that. And then I had my practice go and it was done. I was like, okay, that was done. It's like, right, here's your change your nappy and put her in her outfit. We've done her measurements. So I'm dressing my daughter for the first time, half an hour after her birth. And I'm like putting her arms through and babies, I've always seen babies as so fragile, but see when it's your own baby, you just have this weird built-in intuition that you've got it. And we get moved into a ward. We got a room ourselves, which we're very grateful for. The team at Wisha were absolutely amazing at supporting us. So we go into the room and they come in and check every couple of hours, every hour or so. But it's like, right, cool. Just like when she wants to feed, she'll cry. So feed her, and when she's fell asleep, just put her back in the crib. And that's your first 24 hours. Like you're in this cycle and you're like, okay, change, boom, wipe, hold her, stare at her. Can't believe she's mine. Can't believe this is our daughter. We have, like, my whole life since I met Jill, I knew I was going to have a family, and I knew at the age of 24 that family was going to be with Jill. What's she going to look like? Is it going to be a boy? Is it going to be a girl? Like, what age will we be? Like, all that led up to that moment, and you're just like, this is weird how this build up of what fatherhood's going to be like, or what fatherhood will be like, it's here right now. So that's been my experience so far, and we were only in the hospital for 24 hours. We got out, we got home, and we've been home since. Jill's independence is more or less back. I think she'll maybe get another week or so before she feels like she could drive, but she's back out walking and things like that. We've taken Bonnie out, and Cooper, our dog, has been absolutely fantastic with her. So our family is literally here. And it's an incredible, surreal experience. There's a thing that guys will often say, that is, they didn't feel a connection to the birth of their child until about 6 months. And there's a lot that plays into that, is because how do you build a connection with someone? For the mothers, they're growing her, right? So I feel the connection when they are alone themselves and they're holding their tummy and they feel the baby move and you talk to your baby. Like, I found that a bit weird to do. I would try to do it, but I certainly felt awkward doing it, and that's just me being honest. I knew it was important to do, but it felt weird to me. So I'm like, I know there's a baby in there, but I don't feel like it feels so far away, even though we were at week 38, 9, 40, 41, 42. And a phrase I was saying to Jill, we're one day closer. That's one, those one days were 18 days over the due date. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, the connection piece is very interesting, and to connect with someone, you need feedback. They need to have some sort of interaction with you. And babies don't interact. They cry when something's wrong, and they feed and they sleep. And you'll have these little moments where you're like, oh, our ears are popped out, the umbilical cords fell off, our belly's changed, oh, she's not fitting into those nappies anymore. These are all the evolutionary stages of your baby growing. But that's not direct interaction to you as a father. So I understand why fathers say that. However, I think we need to let our guard down a little bit, and like I'll talk to Bonnie. So what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, because Jill's breastfeeding every 2-3 hours, so that she's not getting the best of sleeps. So at night, I'm trying to take Bonnie for 3 hours. So there's been a couple of nights so far where I've been able to take her out, and I'm just walking. I've got her in the carrier, and she's sleeping, and I'm like, so this is us out walking, and I'm trying to talk to her, and I'm like, I even said like a couple of nights ago, I was like, this is weird to talk to, because I don't even know if you're getting anything from this, but I guess the point of me doing this is for me to build connection to you. And that was the kind of natural words that came out of my mind. I was like, okay, because then I've woke up the next day and I do the same thing again, and I'm like, okay, this is a bonding experience. This is how I build connection with my daughter. That's how I get, although there's no interaction, that's where it's maybe a little bit different. And as fathers, for me, that's what I'm finding. Okay, this actually helps. The skin to skin, her lying on me. I I feel we're like fighting over because Jill's breastfeeding, and if I come up to the studio for a couple of hours and I go home, the first thing I want to do is come in and hold her and look at her and connect with her. And Jill's like, no, I want her. And I'm like, no, I want her. Like, you've had her all day. So we're certainly fighting over her. So there's all that side of things that we're sort of learning. As I said, it's very early stages, but there is a bunch of different topics I want to touch on when it comes to this. And I've got them kind of drafted out, a couple of guests that I want to bring on the podcast as well. But I also want to hear from you guys. I don't know if my audience, I would imagine audience is going to be a mixture of fathers and mothers, but I want to hear from a parentinghood side of things, from masculinity, from the health, from the raising your kids, the psychology. I'm honestly fascinated in all aspects of it. And I want to hear from you. Who do you want, or who do you think I should get on? Who is someone in your life that's made an impact, from the reels that you watch to the YouTube videos that you might see, or even just someone in your network? I don't care about their following. I don't care about their audience. None of that matters to me. It's just someone that is made, or someone that you see and you're like, you know what, they're a good parent. And I'll finish on this point when I wrap up. The biggest compliment me and Jill got before like the pregnancy was like well established, like week 8. Like when we were telling our close friends and that, it's like, you guys are going to be great parents. Like that was such a nice, it was probably the nicest compliment anyone can ever give you. And we got that when we announced it from people that we don't even know that well. It's just social media friends. And now that we're parents, again, a very common message is like, you guys, a beautiful family, like you're absolutely going to kill it as parents. And it's like, it's weird that that's a perception that we've given from people who don't necessarily know us. And I want to live up to that standard, but I'm scared to not, but I don't think that we'll be bad parents. Like, is the fact that I'm able to create this podcast and talk about it, self-awareness is probably that one skill that helps you with these types of things. So instead of I don't want to be an over-analytical parent where I'm trying to optimize the Huberman lifestyle into my daughter's life, but I want to do a good job, and I don't want to just leave it up to chance and fate and learnings. I want to go, right, okay, where are some of the best parenting methods and advice and psychology and things to do with them for their development, for their physical development, their mental development, their psychological development. I want to experience and understand all of that to make an informed decision. It's done me pretty well up until this point, so I'm sure it's going to do me well for the chapter on parenthood. So that's the Girl Dad podcast. That is episode 1. We'll call it there. I want to get a theme tune. I want to get a theme tune. I need to get some branding. No idea. I just thought, you know what, let's record the first episode, get it out there, and start having these wonderful, curious conversations and sharing my learnings with you guys. So there'll certainly be interactive episodes when it comes to certain things with raising boys, raising girls, being a dad, being a mum, the first year, grandparents, friends, people smoking, people what type of food they're eating. Like there's generally so much, and I think it's all fascinating. So if you made it this far, thank you for tuning in. One of the best ways to support me just now is going to be by leaving a little review or sharing it with someone. Let us know if you've actually listened to this, because this can be, doing this yourself can be quite you're talking to the void. I'm talking to this camera, but ultimately I'm speaking to you that's listening to this. I want to connect with you. I want to understand what value or what learnings or what thoughts came into your mind while listening to this. Share them with me, and it'll give me talking points and topics to talk about in future episodes. So if you're finding this and you don't follow me on social media, which I think will be quite bizarre, but if you want to give us a follow, it's Not So Coach Crosser on Instagram. That's just going to be my personal branding page for all the wonderful things that I get up to, from fitness to business and now this. So that's Not So Coach Crosser, CROSSAR. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Unsure when I'm going to release these. Maybe Sunday nights. Maybe we'll go for the Sunday ritual routines. That sounds about right, but we'll see where it takes off from there. And yeah, have a great day.